Okay, this is just a little quickie here. I had a individual ask me if I would show how I was remounting my scales on the Sheldon Lathe. So what I've done is I've just got two of the scales. I've got the cross slide and the compound scale off. And I just shot a little quick video at my little electronics bench showing where I'm at with that. Basically, I'm just disassembling. I cleaned those up initially a little bit, and they're still grungy, dirty. The mounting brackets are yucky. The cables were all starting to get brittle and cracked and things like that. So, which was part of my problems with that system. So, what I've done is I just shot a little bit at my electronics bench showing me cutting the cables off, and I disassembled one of those scales. So you've got an idea of how they go together or when they're converted over for those digital readouts. So hopefully you find something useful with it. Enjoy. Thought you guys might be a little bit interested in scales here. Now these are the scales that this is actually the compound scale off the lathe that I'm running with the Shumatech, and this is the cross slide. So I've just lightly washed these down already. I'm going to completely strip these out. We're going to replace the cables on them, clean them all up, and make sure everything works the way it should. Basically, all I'm doing is starting to strip them down today. I'm going to cut off wiring and just start disassembling. This is actually what the scales look like when they don't have the covering on them, you know, or your digital calipers. This is normally what you'd see on stuff like this, and this is them without the coating on the on the outside. They work just fine. What my plan is these have basically been exposed when they've been mounted on the lathe, and anytime you're mounting this kind of a thing on a small lathe while there's compromises to be made. We're just getting rid of part of this cable. This is all, we're going to replace this with the same cable, but something that's in better condition than this. When you try and mount these on these smaller lathes, and even the Sheldon like these have been mounted on, they take up a lot of real estate. You're going to give up something to get them. And I tried to mount these basically as compactly as I could. When you mount these like on the compound, the way it was mounted, it crowds the gib screws so you don't get the gibs adjusted and things like that. So my plan is I'm going to mount them basically the same way I had them, which is this set on the back side of the compound in this configuration. And it may sit this way, it may sit this way, I don't know yet. But I'm going to try and shield them. We'll put a plate on the back of them, we'll put a thing, and then we'll put a cover over the front so that at least most of the crap will stay off of them. Now, these are pretty grungy and they look pretty ugly, but they've been on there since, 2000 and well, this was done this user's guide was 2004, so it's been at least that long. And I've had, a couple of different user's guides. This is revision 3, and I bought into these this design not too long after they came out. So they've been around a long time. They've held up well. I did clean these off and plugged them back in and tried them, and they're stable as can be. These are really this has been a good system. I've had problems with them, and we've talked about that a little bit, which is why I was going to upgrade them to the other DROs that I've already ordered. And I've got the one on the mill, and I've got working on the one I was going to put the other one on the lathe. I've got it sitting there. It will probably go on the planer at some point, but these were just set up. Now I've got plugs on these. Some of these were wired direct, and some of them have a plug on them, which the plug that fits in these, let's see if I've got them here. Those are headers. I believe those are the sockets. Maybe I don't have any more of the plugs in stock. Anyway, these are the little sockets that get soldered into those, into the heads themselves onto the circuit board if you're going to put plugs and sockets on them. Like I say, some of the ones I had have plugs and sockets, other ones don't. So we'll have to see what's see what we do. So one of the things that I am going to be doing is I've got to build circuit boards so that I can mount so that I can power these that I've got on the tail stocks on the machines. Yeah, this is all really grungy here. So we're going to strip these completely apart and clean them up and start our mountings off again from scratch and come up with something better than what we've got. Looks like these were probably, these have all been potted in hot melt glue. Which actually has worked quite well. I'm not going to get too in depth with this, but I did think you might like to see what was going on. And these in the scales, we put capacitors in them, which sits down in the battery tray, makes these pretty stable and they work really well. So all in all, these have been a good installation for an inexpensive installation. So go ahead, we'll strip them all down, or both of them down. I've still got the one on the Z-axis on the lathe, and for right now, I probably will not change it. These will all get changed when we set the other Sheldon lathe up. And assuming this digital readout's still doing what it's supposed to be doing, this one will be, all of these digital readouts and this head will be put on the other Sheldon lathe. We do one of these at a time, so we'll all pretty grungy looking for a electronics bench here. This has a, yeah, we'll have to clean it up. There's a little tensioner that sits up underneath here that's adjusted with that screw right there. We won't disassemble that yet. We'll wait and get that back to where it's a little bit cleaner. One more. That's all there is to the circuit boards on these. Now this one was soldered directly onto the circuit board, so that's probably the way we'll replace it again. And then all the rest of the keys and everything, we'll just clean that all up. So now you know what's inside of them. So I'll go ahead, clean these up. We'll do the same thing to the other one and get them ready to go back together, and then we'll come back and see what they look like once we get them back together, and once we start assembling them. So hopefully you find it a little bit interesting. Comments, suggestions, leave them in the comments section for me below, and thanks for taking the time to watch, guys.